Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So today I welcome all of you in today's video regarding the controversial MCQs. So there is a MCQ regarding urea. Cell is placed in urea solution. What will happen to the cell? The answer to this is very simple. There is no change in the cell, because we do not know whether they want to ask about what will happen immediately to the cell, and the second, we do not know about the concentration of urea solution. These two are very important. Cell is placed in the hypertonic solution of urea, what will happen? And if cell is placed in the hypotonic solution of urea, what will happen? In order to answer these MCQs, we must know the nature of urea. Now, if you take the two solutions, solution 1 and solution 2, and both are separated by a semi-permeable membrane, and you put urea molecule in one solution, what will happen? The nature of urea is it crosses the semi-permeable membrane. We already know that the cell membrane is a type of semi-permeable membrane, so it means urea crosses the cell membrane freely until there is equilibrium. Now, what does it mean by equilibrium? If we are having 20 molecules of urea in one solution, and in another solution we are having no urea molecules, so what will happen? The urea molecule, they freely moves through the semi-permeable membrane until there is equilibrium. So if we are having 20 molecules of urea on one side, what happen? The urea molecule diffuse through the semi-permeable membrane until there is equilibrium. Equilibrium means there is equal distribution of urea molecule. So 10 molecules were here and 10 molecules were there. Now, if we place cell in hypertonic solution of urea, we are having solution and that is hypertonic, and we place cell. Now what will happen? Initially the urea solution is hypertonic, so it will draw water. When it draw water, what will happen? The cell will shrink. When the cell shrink, the urea molecules will diffuse through the membrane of the cell to enter into the cell. Now the urea molecule has started diffusion like this until there is equilibrium. So the urea molecule enter into the cell. So the concentration of solution is decreasing with time. Initially it was hypertonic. So if it was hypertonic, what happened? Cell shrink because all the water has been drawn from it. Now what happens? The urea molecule, they freely cross the semi-permeable membrane and they enter into the cell. So when they are entering into the cell, what happened? The tonicity of intracellular fluid is equalizing to the tonicity of the extracellular fluid. So what happens is the urea molecule goes inside, it will draw water and the cell will become normal in size. So initially it shrink the cell. What happened? The urea molecule enter into the cell. When the urea molecule enter into the cell, it will regain its shape because there is normal distribution of urea. Urea molecule outside become equal to urea molecule inside the cell. So initially there was a shrinkage of the cell because all the water has been drawn out. So then the urea molecule when diffused into the cell, what happened? The tonicity outside is decreased. When the tonicity or concentration outside is decreased, what happens? Water goes inside. When the water goes inside, the cell will regain its shape. So the cell shrink and it normalize in size. If that is in the option, you have to pick that, shrink and then normal size. If that is not in the option, you will pick shrink and then swell. But they will confuse you. They will give you option like this: shrink, swell and lyse. Usually this does not happen ideally because the urea molecule moves from the outside of the cell into the inside of the cell until there is equilibrium. So whenever there is equilibrium, so the inside cell does not pull the water maximally. So shrink and then normal size. If that is not an option, shrink, swell. If that is not an option, shrink, swell and lyse. Now another MCQ: if cell is placed in the hypotonic solution of urea, what will happen? Then if there is hypotonicity outside, what will happen? The water will move inside. This is hypotonic solution, hypotonic, and you place the cell in the urea solution. What will happen? The water will move inside, so it will swell. Now what happened? The urea moves from the cell to the outside. When it moves from the cell to the outside, the concentration is shifted from the inside to the outside until there is equilibrium between the inside of the cell and outside of the cell. The urea molecule distribution equalizes. When that equalizes, what will happen? Water moves out. So swell, and whenever there was equilibrium, then normal in size. Swell and then normal in size. So that was another MCQ regarding urea. Cell is placed in the urea solution. What will happen to cell? Answer to this is no change, because we do not know the tonicity of solution. If it is hypertonic, what will happen to the cell? Shrink and then normal in size. If not an option, shrink and swell. If that is also not an option, shrink, swell and lyse. Another MCQ is: cell is placed in hypertonic solution of urea. What happened immediately? That is actually answer to what happened immediately. What happened ultimately? Ultimately mean no change. All these changes occur for the brief period of time until and unless there is equal distribution of urea. The size of the cell remains the same at the end of the story. These changes occur initially. So when the urea distribute and there is equilibrium, the cell regain its size in the end. So if you have any query, you leave in the comment section below regarding this MCQ, so that you are able to pick the right option during exam.